man, middle-aged and mean, chasing a dream that's never been. Filed another case, he's losing ground. Can't stop wheels from spinning round. He's got minions on his side, no prayer. Still fighting on, it's just a nightmare. Pull 'em up, you're making it worse. Endless motion, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull 'em up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. Every case is a money grab. Put it on the tube, that's the only tab. Litigation game, no need to win. Just drag it out and reel them in. Twist the law, break the rules. He's playing games, but he's just a fool. Pull 'em up, you're making it worse. Endless motions, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull 'em up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. Every motion's just for show. Filing papers, moving slow. Courtrooms, a circus, all a game. But in the end, who is to blame? Sick of the noise, sick of the lies. The case is dead, he'll never realize. Pull 'em up, you're making it worse. Endless motions, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull 'em up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. On the case another day. Will the judge care the sky's gone gray? Pull 'em up, it's all a trap. You're digging your hole, fall in that gap. Pull 'em up, the time's all spent. Lost in the game, no way to repair. Mommy didn't love you enough, germ. Too bad, not sad. Pull 'em up.
Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Saturday. It's me, Lisa Lee, and you're here on Two Leaves. I'm just kidding. Well, you really are. Anyway, how is everyone doing? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I think Richard is here. Let's take a look. Yep, there he is. Hey, Richard. How you doing?
You know, happy Saturday night. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to ask you, because the other day you had court in the morning, and I remember you said you were going to do a little write-up about it, and I was waiting for it, and then I saw what Michael posted today, because I read the other articles, but I still didn't find out what was going on. I'm like, oh my God, he's leaving me hanging.
So there was no court.
It's really interesting.
There was no court. I get an email on Thursday that this quote, backtrack for a second. I have a copy of the article that I put out, which has the copy of the pleadings that I had filed. I filed a motion, and what I did was there was a case in 2018 that they brought against me, which was the fake Facebook case. They said that I made fake Facebook pages about politicians, which is my First Amendment right to make fun of politicians, and they said it was falsification of business records. If that charge sounds familiar, that's the charge that they got Trump for in New York, falsification of business records. It's the most bullshit of bullshit charges. It's an unconstitutional charge. I didn't do anything wrong. And the way that I falsified records was that I made political satire in Facebook. So I falsified the business records of Facebook by creating satire. That was their theory. And in New York, that flies because they're fucking crazy. So what did I do? In 2018, they charged me with that. I'm away in the feds at that point. I never went back to Staten Island. And then in 2020, they wanted to resolve the case as a plea, and they added like another charge in something called what's called an SCI, supplemental criminal information. And what they did was they made a separate docket number for the supplemental criminal information, and then they tie everything together. They make me do a video plea, which is I found out was illegal in New York. So the whole plea was no good. And so I tried to get rid of that before. They're telling me, no, you're stuck with your plea, fuck you. So yeah, okay, whatever. So then what happens, I find out that there's an FCI going on, right? And the FCI is, the case opened up again. So on July 10th, and then again on July 14th, there were court hearings. I wasn't noticed. Arthur Idal was my old attorney. He got dismissed in 2023 in Brooklyn by a judge. So he hasn't been my lawyer since 2023. I've been representing myself, and I never got noticed on this. So they had two court hearings. So I say, fuck it. They're having a court hearing. I put it on a motion. So I put this huge fucking motion, with this 27-page motion, telling them you got to disqualify yourself. The case has got to go away, blah, 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 blah. And here's my theory. My theory is this, and it was a brilliant theory. And I think that everything happened because I was so fucking brilliant. But I said this. If you have a supplemental criminal information that gets to the court in New York City or New York State, the only way that the court has jurisdiction over the criminal case is if everything that happened prior to you going to court actually happened in compliance with the criminal procedure. What is that? That means you got to get arrested, you got to get booked, you got to get fingerprinted, you got to get processed, you got to do all that other shit. Well, I said, where's the fingerprint card? You're like, what? Where's the fingerprint card from 2020? You don't have a fucking fingerprint card from 2020. So you didn't book me correctly. Therefore, this case never achieved jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction with the court itself. So you have two choices. One is to go back and book me and then recommence the case, or dismiss it. But you cannot go back and rebook me, because to rebook me and to recommence, you're past your 5-year statute of limitations. Therefore, you must the case is over. You have to cut this out. You have to cut out the supplemental criminal information. Now, the second part I said, because you wrapped up a plea deal with a supplemental criminal information and another information, if the SCI falls out, the supplemental criminal information is no longer jurisdictionally valid, then I was pleading to something that I never had a reason to plead to. I wasn't getting rid of legal jeopardy. I had no knowing, voluntary, or intelligent waiver of my rights or understanding of my rights, because I wasn't giving up anything. If I was pleading to something to give up criminal liability, that's one thing. If I plead to something that has no liability, then the whole deal gets broken up. Therefore, I get my plea in the other case back, and I want to go to trial. And so I tell them, I want to go to trial. I'm in pre-trial. I want to go to trial. And the people in that case that I would get the question on, the sitting district attorney and a sitting Supreme Court justice, a sitting judge. So I want to put them on the stand. I want to start cross-examining these pricks. I want to do this. I want to do that. Well, God forbid that would happen. These people, their heads fucking exploded, right? So here's what I think happened, okay? So on the 10th, they call in the special prosecutor, this new judge called Ray Rodriguez, calls in Eric Nelson, the special prosecutor, and Rodriguez just took over as administrative judge. And he probably looked at this case and he said, because the guy was a decent lawyer. He was 10 years as a prosecutor, and another 10 years as a criminal defense attorney, and he was a pretty good criminal defense attorney before he took the bench in 2014 or so in lower criminal court. Now he worked his way up. He's the chief judge now. He's the administrative judge in 2025. Right. He probably looked at the file and said, "You didn't book Luthmann correctly in this SCI. Go get the file for me and get me the fingerprint card and everything, and let's clean this file up so we can make the SCI and close the case." This is on July 10th. My belief is that between July 10th and the next day, July 14th, Nelson sat down with Mike McMahon, the DA. They said, "We got a fucking problem. We never booked Luthmann. We never fingerprinted him. We're fucked, because if he figures it out, then the case is going to get dismissed, the SCI, and then the other case is going to get dismissed too. And we spent $1 million trying to prosecute him, and we're going to have all egg on our face because the case is going to go away. Or worst case scenario, he'll try to take it to trial, and he'll try to cross-examine you, Mike, the DA, and he'll try to cross-examine Ron, the judge, and he'll make us look like total fools because we perjured ourselves already. So I think they came up with a plan, like a corrupt plan, on the 10th or the 11th, somewhere in there, to try to arrest me on a new phony, bogus charge, right? And that's where they came up with the fake Substack email thing on July 13th. So July 13th, they come up with the fact that McMahon received an email, and it was a violation of a protective order, which was bullshit. I didn't send the email, but they said, you have to come in. They called up my lawyers and said, he has to come in and just get fingerprinted, and then we'll run him through the system and this and that. I think they were trying to do an old cop trick. So they were going to do two sets of fingerprint cards. So it's not like digital. It's they do it on these like little manila cards, like 50 years ago. You think they do the card? Right. They would do two sets of fingerprint cards. I wouldn't know the difference, and they put one in the old file and then one in the new file, right? And so I'm at the point where I'm like, oh fuck! And then the 14th, they have the next date, and that's when they issue the warrant. And Nelson, told. What's his name? Told Rodriguez, give me more time. Give me August 1st, and we'll try to have this resolved. Thinking that as soon as they tried to book me, that I would go up there and listen to them, and I would get fingerprinted, and I would be an idiot. Well, I didn't listen to them, and I started to fight them, and then I realized, fuck it. If this SCI, if they didn't fingerprint me, I figured it out what their plan was. If they didn't fingerprint me, let me put an motion in to dismiss the SCI. Before I get there on August, if they have a date on August 1st, I notice the motion for August 1st. I want an opportunity to be heard. Here's my motion to dismiss the SCI, to dismiss the case entirety, to do this, to do that, to do the other thing. So I put it in, and they don't know whether to shit or go blind at that point because I have them tracked. Right? So I turn around, and the day before, the clerk of the court for the Judge Rodriguez, sends me a link. They send me a fucking Zoom link or a Microsoft Teams link. Be ready to go at 9:30. That's when the court's going to hear the motion, calendar call, blah, 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 blah. So I get on like 9 o'clock, and I sign into Teams, and I'm sitting there, and I have a whole video. It's like videoed my tape myself the whole time with my screenshot just as proof to show that I was there. And I have the whole video. I'm going to publish it probably like tomorrow or the next day. It's going to be pretty funny when I do it. I do the whole thing, and they never let me in. 9:30 comes. At like 10 o'clock, I send an email. I'm like, I'm trying to make an appearance versus under People v. Parker to contest jurisdiction, to contest subject matter jurisdiction. What's going on? I get nothing back. At 11 o'clock, I send them an email. I'm like, guys, I actually have a doctor appointment today. I'm not in great health. I'm not fucking stellar. I'm not Charles Atlas. I have a doctor's appointment. You people let me know about this fucking thing yesterday, and I'm going to my doctor's appointment. If you need me, here's my cell phone, and we'll see what we got to do. Well, I get back, and I had about 30 court watchers that wanted to come in at 9:30, and journalists like Volpe and Julie Holborn Anderson and other people too, and they all wanted to come in, and nobody could get in. They don't let anybody in, and then they changed the docket later in the day for what's said to be decision reserved. So decision reserved means that the judge is going to make a decision. The decision's forthcoming. The judge has everything he needs. So my thought was, well, that's a little fucked up because I never had an opportunity to be heard. I never had an opportunity to give oral argument. I never had an opportunity to talk to the judge, ask what the hell was going on. I got no answers, but I thought maybe the judge will do an order, and at least I'll get something that'll be appealable, or I'll be able to do what I need to do, or maybe he'll recuse himself. Well, then I turn around, and today Volpe calls me because he's writing an article about it, and the docket disappeared.
I was just going to bring that up. I was going to show it.
Website fucking disappeared. It's not there. The case doesn't exist. It's like, holy shit. So it's like, I looked like I was going to win. And the fact is I caught them. And then they just got rid of the docket to make it like it's nothing. So what I did was I just sent this out before on my thing. There we go. It's the same reserved decision. That's what it looked like before. Right?
Yeah. And I'm like, what's the reserved decision? And I read it. He says, reserved decision means order is imminent. I'm like, oh,
so
shit.
The judge can make an order based on what if it says motion, I put a motion in. It's on for a motion. That's my motion. Is this mine or is this Volpe's?
This is this is Volpe's.
Okay, go to mine. Mine's even cooler.
Let me see. Oh, well, why don't you even post that whole link? The link is so long. All right, hold on.
Let me open it up because I have the actual motion that I filed in there. And I have the video too that I just did, which is awesome. The video is probably the best thing that I've done in a long time. There we go. Turn that up. That's the judge. You have to go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of the video. Yeah. Go back to the beginning.
I'll drive everywhere to San Juan. If there's a road you can drive on, I'll give my cousin the free ride. Now you get all of them inside. If we go to America, maybe hellos in America. Nobody knows in America. Where we go in America.
So that's Ray Rodriguez. He's the fucking clown judge. And the best part is he's running now. I know this guy from years ago. He's running now for judge. He's like the uniparty candidate, meaning that if you go to vote Republican, you vote for him. If you go to vote Democrat, you vote for him. If you go to vote conservative, you vote for him. If you go to vote communist, it doesn't matter. He's on every line. He's the uniparty candidate. Okay? Now, I said that the campaign art is mine, and this is all from Volpe's, I think. But I said
I was trying to zoom in on it, but it still shows the right side. Sorry.
Monday morning, I'm going to the feds. I've had enough of the bullshit. That's true. I'm going to go to the feds on Monday because what this is now, this is a color of law violation. They violated my opportunity to be heard, and I can go to the feds with this already. And what I thought about with the extra fingerprint cards is real, and we can prove it, and it fits the facts, obviously, what's going on, then it's a RICO case, and there's a lot of people who are going to be leaving in bracelets. And I'm going to the Trump people, actually. So there's a weaponization group. I've been talking to people, and I'm going to try to get in with some of the top people from Washington. I might have to go down here and meet with people. Like, there's some people that are down here that are related to it, but I might be talking to Washington. I'm working on that now. I'm actually not at liberty to say exactly who I'm speaking to yet, but we'll see. We'll see. But if you go click on that, I have my motion papers. So click on those motion papers. This actually is like the clincher here. That's going to pop up my motion papers, and you do show the first page of the motion papers. This is the fucked up part, because when you file something in a court, I e-filed it, right? I did it with an e-delivery. Look at this. This is a receipt, 729. They said that they've received it. You see, it says they received the documents. This is the document. Look, it's the case. That's the case, right? And then I have it all in there, okay? And I keep going, and keep going down. I need a motion. I asked for all this relief, right? I asked on August 1st at 9:30 a.m. I was there waiting to go. They sent me a link, and keep going down. I asked for all of this shit for this relief, and then I go after this. Keep on going. That's my affidavit of service. I served the other side. I served the Eric Nelson, who's the special district attorney. Now keep going, and then I have a whole affirmation telling the people what they did. They never had any service or a notice or an arraignment. They didn't do everything the right way. So when they do things the wrong way, it's no good. It's like when you get a parking ticket and they're wrong on the parking ticket, they got to throw the whole thing out. So they got to start over. Or a speeding ticket. So they have to start over, but they can't start over. And so this is some other stuff. But if you go further, this is a lot of legal stuff. Everybody wants to read that. I think my stuff is more fun than the RICO homework that you gave everybody. But this
I read this the other day.
In there,
I was like, holy crap.
Statute of limitations, untimely prosecution. You only have 2 years for a misdemeanor, 5 years for a felony. It's well past that. They can't do shit to me at this point, right? And then the interdependency of the plea agreement, when you have a plea agreement that has multiple things and one of them is no good, everything's no good. You can't have a plea and resolves everything. So it busts that open. So these people are scared shitless of me at this point. And, I asked for remote participation. They gave me remote participation. But, it is what it is. These fucking people just don't know what they're doing. Or they do know what they're doing. They're trying to be crooks. But that's why you have the federal system. That's why we had an election. There's no more lawfare. There's no more weaponized justice now with the administration that we have in. And I'm going to avail myself of the protections of the administration that's going to help me. And we'll see what happens if we get these people on lawfare and get the whole thing knocked out. But I talk a lot there about my history with this guy McMahon, who's the DA, and he's the one who's trying to get me arrested on a fake Facebook
Right. Calling you a stranger.
Saying that I'm a stranger when I've known the guy for a decade. We call him a shitbrick for a decade, longer than a decade.
Right.
If you go down to the exhibits, they're even more fun. And I'm going to show you how dirty this shit is. You think there's dirty pool out there? There's a couple of exhibits are there. That's Ray Rodriguez. He's the judge, right? And in that article, he talks about the first thing that he did was he went to his friend of 30 years, Mike McMahon, and asked him about justice on Staten Island. That's McMahon, the guy who's trying to get me arrested. Okay, that's the first exhibit. Keep going from there. Go to the second exhibit. It gets even better. Because that's Rodriguez. It's all okay. This is right here. See Eric Nelson? That's the special prosecutor in my case, right? He's talking to this guy right here named Perry Reich. You see that guy Perry Reich?
Yeah.
He's asking him for advice about my case. This is back in 2018. Was in front of the grand jury. You know who Perry Reich is? Perry Reich is a convicted felon. The district attorney is asking a convicted felon for legal advice. I have it in writing. That the case should have been over right then and there. Like, how do you ask a convicted felon for legal advice if you're the district attorney? That's like it's over. Then what's he asking about? There's been some questions as to the line of the First Amendment and political satire. That's what he's asking about, the First Amendment. Go to the next page. That's from the grand jury transcript. Read what the grand jury person says. You read this out loud. Start reading that from Mr. Nelson.
I could call someone for Friday if that's a question that was asked. And the judge says, can you state what freedom of speech, what is the Second Amendment? Grand jury report person says First Amendment. Mr. Nelson says First Amendment. Can you tell us what the whole thing? I'm not going to give a course on freedom of speech. I can look it up, though. You could look things up in terms of what freedom of speech means, but you cannot look it up in the context of this case. Again, at the end of the case, I may submit charges to you, criminal charges or offenses regarding the testimony in this case. To that point, a determination has to be made as to whether or not a crime was committed.
So the grand jurors were asking, is this stuff that you're saying with Luthmann making a fake Facebook page about the politician, is that protected by the First Amendment? And the prosecutor says, I'm not telling you about the First Amendment. Don't pay no attention to the First Amendment. There's no First Amendment here. I don't have to advise you on that. Well, can I look it up?
Right.
You can't look it up. You can't look up the First Amendment. I'm telling you, you can't look it up. So there's clearly a First Amendment issue here. The grand jurors were asking about it. They didn't feel right about doing an indictment on me because of the First Amendment stuff involved. They knew. They're not even lawyers. They know that there's free speech. Yet this guy came around after he talked to the felon. He came around and he told the grand jurors, "Oh no, there's no such thing as the First Amendment. Go fuck yourself. You cannot." That's what this guy did, and this guy actually still has a law license. His name is Eric Nelson from Staten Island, New York. He's a special prosecutor. And this is the fourth thing is the criminal contempt complaint. That's the one with the guy McMahon who says that I was a stranger. So if you go down, it's the fucking most funniest thing. It happened from 10:52 to 10:51 to 10:52, right? So it's a 1 minute. So he received one email. Okay, there's one email from me. And look, go back to that page, the second page. You just passed it. It right there, where it says, "Is victim fearful for their safety/life?" And it says yes. So he received one email, and he was fearful for his safety or his life. Look what he was doing below that. It says reading emails. Actions of victim pride reading. So from reading emails, he was safe. He was fearful for his life. The only way you can be fearful for your life is if somebody sends you a direct email that says, "I'm going to come kill you or your family, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I'm going to burn your house." The email didn't say that.
Meanwhile, he subscribed to your Substack.
Yeah, he subscribed to it like a few weeks before. He'd been clicking stuff on my Substack. Because I was talking about one of the people that it was his political allies, Camilla Hanks and her husband, and they had charges of Islamophobia. And 90 mosques on Staten Island and all throughout New York City had sent a letter asking for an apology. And the person, the Muslim activist, actually sent McMahon a complaint saying, "Investigate this guy because he threatened me." And we were trying to find out what was going on there. And I didn't even send the email. It was Rick LaRiviere from my outlet. So that's what happened here. That's what's going on here. And it's pure unadulterated bullshit. But this is what they concocted to try to get me to Staten Island so they could fingerprint me, I think. So, this is like, they look at the dates. The dates match up. This was on July 13th. They need it done. The 10th, they realize they had a problem. The 13th, which is a Sunday, they make this up. The 14th, they report it, and they figure, okay, we'll get him in, we'll fingerprint him. This will be done within a couple of weeks, and then we'll have the fingerprint card, and he won't be able to knock the case out. And now, what do they do? Go back to Volpe's piece and finish up Volpe's piece. We go to
Volpe's piece? All right, hold on.
Go back to Volpe's piece, and it goes through the whole thing of what happened.
All right, 1 sec. Let me. Volpe. Hold on. I got all these screens now. All right, here we go.
I reprinted Volpe.
There you go.
So go back to the top. Okay, that's Volpe. And so go back, keep going. Keep going. Okay, here we go. That's Rodriguez. Okay, that's the judge. This is McMahon, the guy who said that he was fearful for his life. He's what's called fear fraud. It's fraud about his fear. Okay, then keep going. This is what he says, that he was reading a fucking email at its public address, michael.mcmahon at rcda.nycd.gov. Now listen, nobody out there harassed this man. He's a public servant, and don't use his email or anything like that. People have said in jest on social media, we should send this guy spam. Don't do that, because there are people that might be hurt on Staten Island that might need to actually talk to police and law enforcement. Don't clog up law enforcement lines. I'm telling everybody right now, no matter what you think, he's a very not good guy, but the way to deal with this is not his official address. Okay, now look at what happened. He clicked on all these links. Look at this. He signed up on the 2050 clicked, the 2060 clicked, the 2060 clicked. He was clicking for 2 weeks looking at different stuff. And he was looking at stuff, and then he like it just dawns upon him on July 13th that he needed to report me. No, I think the reason we're motivated.
20th, he signed up. User created, signed up on the 20th. We see
this is all this. This is Substack backend. I can't manipulate this. Substack.
Right.
So if you keep going down, that's another thing. That's like clear as day. And then this cop, this friggin' moron cop right there, he comes and he tells my lawyer that called up that they wanted me to surrender. He's like, what do you got there? He tells the cop says, because of who the victim is, Mike McMahon, we're going to get whatever I want. I'm going to get whatever I want. I'm going to get this guy, the U.S. Marshals, down. They're going to get him. They're going to pick him up because of who the victim is. Well, there's something in this world called equal justice under the law. It's written on a building in Washington called the Supreme Court of the United States. Equal justice under the law. That means that it doesn't matter if you're the district attorney, it doesn't matter if you're the president, and it doesn't matter if you're a pauper that lives in the streets. You get equal justice under the law before the courts. There's no such thing as, because of who the victim is, I get whatever I want. So I call internal affairs on this guy. IAB, Internal Affairs Bureau, is taking out this guy and investigating him, investigating the other detective that was on this, and the supervisor that signed off on this. They were all in poo-poo. So keep going down. This is the court system now. So this is what happened. This is what I saw a few days ago, right? I saw that the 27th of 2020, at 10/27 of 2010 is when I took the plea. Then there was some hearing on 2/18 of 2020. I wasn't even there, but they said there was a violation. There was no violation found. Then 7/11 of 2025, there was a case. It got adjourned, so people were in the court. Then 7/14 of 2025, they went back and it was adjourned. And then the next thing was 8/1 of 2025. So I saw this like after the 14th.
That was your hearing, right?
Yeah. So I see where it says motion. I put the motion in there. That's what it was supposed to be heard. I'm there at 9 o'clock trying to get in, and the lady said 9:30 on the thing. Good thing I got there early, but it didn't matter because keep going down. You'll see what happened with Volpe. This is what I got. I got this. Michael got this. Everybody got this. We're trying to get in.
Right.
They didn't let us in. See, Part 7, Judge Rodriguez's virtual courtroom. They didn't let anybody in. They didn't let me in as the litigant. They didn't let Michael in as the press. So there's something that I'm a litigant. It's the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. And that's what's called due process. And there are two parts of what due process of law is. It's called notice and an opportunity to be heard. So notice means I got to know that there's going to be a hearing. They got to let me know. They didn't let me know. The other part is an opportunity to be heard. When there is a hearing and the judge to make a determination, I have to have an opportunity to be heard. Where's my opportunity to be heard? He didn't let me in the room. Okay, so that's my issue, the Fifth Amendment issue, my rights, the color of law rights of due process. The other part that we have is Michael's rights and all the other court watchers and the journalists. And what's their right? First Amendment rights, a right to the free press, free access to the courts, petition the courts for grievances, and the eye of vigilance, to be able to go to a public courtroom and be able to access the information, especially for our press. So I write this down, go down there. So I go there at 9. At 10 o'clock, I read this email. I've been attempting to access systems a little after 9 to make a limited jurisdictional appearance under People v. Parker to contest jurisdiction and motive proceeding error. The system will not let me in. So then we wait there. It's after 11, 11, we get off, and then look what happens. That the motion that was before, that was empty, says now reserve decision, right? See, a reserve decision only order. That means that the judge made a decision that he's going to reserve decision. So he was on the bench, and then he's going to put out an order. He could put it out tomorrow. He could put it out next week. He could put it out next month. But he's made a decision on the motion that was before him, and it's a reserve decision. They issue it. Okay, then keep going. But then Volpe tries to look for the case today before he's about to publish it, and look what happens. The case disappeared. There are no motions on record for this case. Right? So they made the case go away. So it's not like there's no motions. Meaning that there's no order, there's no decision. He said decision reserved. He said he was going to make a decision. I didn't have a hearing. I wanted to get a hearing and a transcript before a court reporter and say my piece and make my arguments. Didn't let me do that. And now they turn around and they say there are no motions on record for this case. There are no charges on record for this case. The case still exists as an SCI. If the case didn't go away, but there's nothing there. It just disappeared. We don't know what the fuck happened. But I think they're trying to cover their tracks right now because I think that they know, because IAB is involved, because the press has been talking about this, and now I'm going to the feds on this too, because I'm going to try to get some people walked out in bracelets for weaponization of justice, because this is weaponized justice and lawfare. So they're trying to like rats from the sinking ship trying to fix this. So this is the most highly irregular thing that I've seen probably ever. I've been around a lot of this shit for a lot of years. I don't know anybody else who's seen anything this crazy. Other people have said they've had stuff lost by courts too, but this is like they're not even good at covering their tracks because there's a digital footprint here. There's like a digital breadcrumb trail of what they did. Like these people are fucked. They really are fucked at this point. People are going to get into a lot of trouble here. I'm talking when the feds come in. This is going to be a big problem for everybody. So I'm cool with that. These people they fucked me for years. They sent me to jail. They fucked my life. And the people say, "Oh, Luthmann, he's a felon. He's a criminal. He's this." If this thing comes out the way that I need it to, Donald Trump is going to take care of these fucking people, and he's going to take care of me. And you're not going to be able to call Rich Luthmann the felon anymore. You're going to call Rich Luthmann the guy that got screwed by a blue state, New York City, radical left, Democrat, crazy lawfare, weaponization of justice asshole named Mike McMahon. And I know for a fact that our commander-in-chief wants this person almost as much as he wants somebody else named Peekaboo Letitia James, who's also a New York prosecutor, and also a guy named Alvin Bragg, who's also a New York prosecutor. I have a feeling that our commander-in-chief will be using Mr. McMahon as the stepping stone to get to Alvin Bragg and to Letitia James, because he wants those two bad. So McMahon just put itself in the crosshairs.
So this case still exists? You're saying it's still there?
Yeah, it still exists. It's there. It's like the charge is there. Everything is there. Like the SCI still exists. Unless they have a piece of paper that says that this case that is out, it's gone, and there's no disposition. This case is still there. It's still part of a plea. It's still part of a charge of a felony or judgment of a felony in New York State. Unless they have an order that says that this and the other case are gone, that the judgment is vacated, then it's not over. So just by getting rid of this case, they think they're being slick. It's like, oh, it's gone. There's nothing to see here. Because they didn't want to see that motion. The motion that I just showed you, they don't want that to see the light of day because they don't want it to make it clear that I figured out about the fingerprint cards. See, I'm smart to figure out the fingerprint cards. You know, most people wouldn't recognize the fingerprint cards. I sat around and I was thinking, I'm like, that's what they were trying to do. So I tried to think, if I was trying to screw myself, what would I do if I was trying to put the Maloik on myself? If I was the prosecutor, why would I be doing this, for a stupid reason? Because why would he open up a thing about a Substack email and open himself up to all this bad press potentially and everything else, unless it was a really big issue? And the big issue is that the whole case is going to go away. He spent years and he spent millions to try to prosecute me for bullshit, and this is going to go away, and it's going to be egg on his face. Is it possible? And I'm just playing, I guess, advocate here, victims advocate. Is it possible that the judge did put an order to dismiss the case, and that's why it's not showing, but you can still see it elsewhere? Possible that he did that, but they emailed me on Thursday to say get on the Zoom. They didn't bring me on and have me talk. They didn't let anybody else come on, and they didn't communicate with me thereafter. And if the judge was going to do that, the smart thing for this judge would have been to do to send me the email of the order and say, Mr. Luthmann, we're sorry, the case is over. We're sorry for everything that happened to you. He didn't do that because he was the McMahon's asshole buddy for 30 years. So, if he did that, I will be the first to apologize to him. But he didn't do that. If he sent out an order saying this whole thing is dismissed, it was a miscarriage of justice, and we're sorry, I would walk away from Staten Island in a heartbeat. I wouldn't have to deal with these people anymore. But that's not what they said. What I'm doing now is I'm doubling down my efforts on Staten Island. I have I'm going to do 10 days, 10 stories in 10 days about Staten Island, about different judges and about different political figures on Staten Island. And that's not just me. I have other people that are going to be writing about this stuff. And we're going to be, hurling at Staten Island because we want to get McMahon and we want to get all his cohorts prosecuted federally. And so we're going to raise the media buzz about this. So it's going to be very easy for the Department of Justice to go in by the time we're done with our media campaign. And he's full breadth of how dirty this guy is. That's the plan of what we're going to do. And the best part is this media plan doesn't involve me so much anymore. I got it started, but I've got the pieces in place now. If they wanted to come and bust down my door, it makes it even better. I become the martyr, So, they're in a very bad media spot right now, and that's going to turn into a legal spot for them, I believe, if this is done the right way. That's how these cases go. And
so if the case still exists, you still have a warrant you're facing.
Well, it's not a warrant because what it is an iCard. And in New York City, the cops have these wanted iCards. And so what they do is, unless they take it to a judge, it doesn't become a warrant. But an iCard it's like a bolo, be on the lookout, or it's like a wanted.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
NYPD is empowered to come arrest you on the street, bring you to the station house, book you, print you, throw you in the back, and then take you on the bus down to the bullpen at the courthouse, and then you got to go see the judge. Okay, so they can take away your liberty and bring you to the judge, and the judge can decide at that point. The district attorney can decide whether they're going to prosecute the case because they can do a DP, decline prosecution, or the judge could get it and say there's no probable cause here. Fuck this. Or the judge could say, come back in a month and we'll try to figure this out. But they'll do something. They'll release you. There's no cash bail in New York, so they're not going to set bail. You just walk out. You get released unless you kill someone. That's how New York is. But if they wanted to get me in Florida, out of state of New York, they have to go in front of a judge, and they have to take what you just saw. The McMahon saying that I'm a stranger, McMahon saying I sent one single solitary email, McMahon said doing this, McMahon doing that, and a judge has to find probable cause for a violation on that. And if a judge finds probable cause for a violation on that, then that's going to be a big problem because it's a McMahon crony judge. It could be his own fucking wife. His wife's a judge. She could be the one that signs off, or one of his people. This guy says he knows him for 30 years. So, I asked for recusal of these people. That's what they need to do. But the problem.
Let me ask you something, Rich. My question is this: with everything that's gone on and all this, and this case being supposedly so old, why do you think they're doing this to you specifically? What do you think their main reason is for this entire?
Because if they were to, they know that I have connections in the administration, that I've been a Trump person since he came down the golden escalator, and that I know a lot of people. I know people that are in the White House all the time, every day. And so they're worried that I'm going to get a pardon, and they need to keep the state stuff intact. Because as long as there's a New York governor, that wouldn't get a pardon. If Lee Stefanik or Michael Lawler wins the New York, I got a good shot at a pardon in New York too. So that's the thing. They want to keep me out of it. They don't recognize that I'm never going to want to be a lawyer ever again. From what I've seen in this legal system, even if I were exonerated on both my state and federal cases, because they were both lawfare and they were both weaponized justice, even if I were exonerated, I wouldn't want to be a lawyer again, because when you become a lawyer, by virtue of holding a license, you lose free speech. And I think that my free speech is much more important. And I think I'm much more dangerous as someone who is in the media. I really do. I can be a legal consultant. I can do a lot of other things. I can be a jury consultant. I can tell people what to do with different things. I can be a media/law consultant, tell people how to best position the messaging for their legal case in the media. I can do those types of things. But I don't need to be a lawyer to do that, because if you do that, that a law firm, if you're a lawyer, then the bar association or a judge could always call you in and say, you're a member of the bar and you did this, this, and this. At this point, they can call me in. They can't say you're a member of the bar. They say you're a private person. You have no ethical rules that you have to follow. You have no professional standards, and you have no restrictions on your free speech. You can't go. And Leslie said this. Leslie had a judge that was 100% wrong, and Leslie called the judge unethical. And by Leslie doing that, she got an ethical violation because you can't call the judge unethical. If I walk into a court being a non-lawyer and I can say, Judge, you're unethical, they can't do anything. So that's my opinion. I have a free speech right to my opinion to think a judge is a moron or unethical or a clown or a bozo or anything. I can say all that stuff. But the second you're a lawyer, you can't say that stuff. You can't say that the courts in New York are corrupt machines. Because if you have a law license in New York, you have to defend the courts. You take an oath to defend the courts. I don't want to take that oath. Even if I was able to take that oath, even if I get straightened out by the president or the governor or I get exonerated, I don't want to be a lawyer again. And I don't want to even be around these people in New York. Like if they were like, was smart, they would have just made this go away. They would have turned around and said, okay, fine, this is gone. And we're done. You have no business in New York anymore. Don't come back to New York. You stay away. Don't pursue us. Don't hit us in the media. And I would have probably abided by that agreement. But I don't think they can make that agreement, and because they're just dirtbags. So I have to go and try and work this. I got to go. They took me out. They sent me to federal prison. My goal now is to send them to federal prison. I'm going to do turnabout. It's not wrong to do that. Turnabout is fair play. So I'm going to try to get all these people rounded up. And that's the thing. That's what I'm going to try to do. I think that they violated the law. I think they violated the federal statutes. I think they're committing RICO. They're committing color of law violations. They're doing lawfare. They're doing weaponization of justice. And 10 years ago, it wasn't a big thing because nobody recognized what was going on. Now we know how bad it is after what happened to President Trump and what's been happening all over the country. What we saw with the people on January 6th, how bad they were treated, and the people that burnt down Minneapolis, nothing happened to them. The people that burnt down Seattle and Portland, nothing happened to them. So there's a problem with justice in our country where certain people get treated very, very poorly, and then other people who do things that are just as bad, if not worse, don't even get charged with anything. So you can't have the foxes in the hen house. And this is the case where this guy and his wife are running the show for 20 years. They're running justice. They have the monopoly on justice. They're public servants. They're in a position of trust, and they're corrupt. So when you've got corrupt people and they're weaponizing justice on top of that, and they're doing lawfare to destroy people, well, then they need to be destroyed. That is what the point is here. They have to be destroyed. And I think President Trump is going to bring justice. This DOJ is going to bring justice. Ed Martin, who is the pardon attorney, is also the chair of the weaponization working group for the DOJ. And you have a bunch of other good people that are working on this. They have actually their own squad on this. So this is very, very positive. Where I think that they're going to go in and start cleaning house. Like it took a while for Trump to figure it out. Remember, we're only it's August. What are we, 8 months in to this administration? Yeah. He's been putting groups together. Now we're going to start seeing a lot of the fruits of the labor. It took till February or March even for Pam Bondi to get in and confirm, and the FBI director, Prakash Patel, Dan Bongino, all these people to get in and weed out all the bullshit. And there's still problems with the hiring. There's still deep state people that they're trying to weed out. They only just fired Comey's daughter a few weeks ago. So once this is all, hitting, and I think that's why the media is so important with my case. The more I talk about it, the more I have others writing about this that aren't me that say, wow, what's going on here? This is pretty crazy that this is happening. That's how this case is get legs. And once you get one person like a McMahon, and if someone, were to take it out like that, then it creates a deterrent effect. You don't have to take every bad actor out because the bad actors stop doing what they're doing when they see somebody go away. When somebody that they perceive to be untouchable goes down, that's everybody else starts saying, uh-oh. And the other part about it is when you have somebody in New York, they're like rats on a sinking ship. So what you can do with a case like this is you'll get rats that will flip on Alvin Bragg and that will flip on Letitia James just by virtue of the fact that you're pursuing somebody else like a McMahon or like somebody in that circle in Staten Island because it's New York. And so they'll say, okay, they're here. They're going to come for us next. Let me get my deal now. Let me protect myself. Let me turn informant. Let me turn rat. And then the rats are who makes the cases, these types of cases. And I have a feeling that the cop at this case I've already told somebody about this. They might actually take my strategy here, but there's a couple of cops, especially in civil rights cases in New York, that weren't involved in the civil rights case, but they were there. So let's say there's 5 cops at a spot. 3 of them beat the shit out of somebody in the back of the car or the back of the wagon, and 2 of them were there, and the feds come in and they see that one or 2 of them weren't involved, but they can't be cops for the NYPD anymore, because once you rat on another cop and break that blue wall of silence, you can't be a cop for the NYPD. But what the feds end up doing is they turn around and they'll take a guy like that, have him chill out for like 9 months, for the trial, and then they'll send him down to Quantico, or they'll send him to another place. He'll come back as an FBI agent or an ATF agent or a Treasury agent or something like that, where he can be in law enforcement in the federal government. And so this case that I have now, there's a bunch of cops on this case that IAB's looking at, and the feds may turn around and take one of those cops, or maybe a couple of them. They're not bad cops, but they'll take them and flip them, and then have them out of the NYPD. And they'll use them to make this case on the other people, and then the other guys will turn up in a year or 2, wherever, in the ATF or in the FBI or in Treasury or someplace else in the federal government, and they'll get credit for their time and everything else. That's how the feds do. That's a good thing that the feds do with a cop who's not a bad cop but was in a bad situation. And so that's one of the things that I'm actually happy about here. So I talked to a couple of people about doing this in this case, because I didn't want to go after the cops here. I wanted to go after McMahon, like laser focused. McMahon and the judge called Castorina and the special prosecutor, the dirty one who was talking to the felon and told people that there's no person. Those are the guys that need to go down. Those 3, if those 3 go down, I'll be a very happy man. And maybe the judge's wife, who was actually sending black and brown and white people to jail in 2018 and 2017 with a warrant scheme. She sent people to prison that never should have been to prison because of what she was doing. So those people are the ones that need to be looked at. There needs to be a truth commission on the old stuff, and this new stuff needs to be looked at too. If those people go away, I'm happy. I don't want to see the cops get hurt, but maybe the feds will do that. That's some of the people I was talking to said that might happen. So we'll see. There's a lot that's going to be happening now. The other thing that I have to worry about is I have to worry about getting whacked. So I have somebody tell me that you're going to get whacked. I had a couple people tell me that I'm going to get whacked. So that's what I have to worry about, that these people are going to whack me. I'm down in Florida. It's going to be hard for them to whack me down in Florida. If I go to New York, I'm probably going to end up dead. Probably end up in the East River. So I know that right now. I say this on here. I'm very, very afraid. Like this guy said he was afraid of an email. I'm afraid that these people are like Bill and Hillary Clinton. They'll do anything, they'll say anything, and I'll be whacked. So I feel very, very healthy, and I don't feel sad. I don't feel depressed. I'm not going to kill myself. So if I end up suiciding myself over the next, few weeks or months, we know what happened. So that's the other thing I'm worried about too, that when you play with these types of people, they will, try to kill you. And I'm worried that these people are going to try to kill me. So that's another reason why I have to go to the feds probably this week. I'm going to walk in, and I don't know exactly the methodology. They're probably going to bring me into an office to go sit down with somebody. We'll see. I just don't know the full logistics yet. I'll probably know more tomorrow. But I do want to, have me give them everything. And not just me. I have a couple other people that have given them stuff too. So, and on this stuff. So there's a lot of stuff here.
Wow. I'm so glad you came on just to explain this, because I mean it's so much more involved and people don't realize that. And based on the article that I saw, I literally thought that the case was, the judge probably just dismissed it and you're out and not having to worry about this anymore. Like it was gonna.
Why would they not send me an email saying we're sorry? Here's your. Just send me an email. Here's the decision.
True.
Dismiss, or a certificate of dismissal, or an order of dismissal. They didn't do that. They want to make it like what? Nothing happened. They're pretending I don't exist. And so that's when the federal government has to come in. That's when it becomes lawfare.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's how I was looking at it when I first read it.
No,
they probably dismissed it for it
on purpose to make it confusing for people. Because if it gets to be too confusing, they don't understand what's going on. But you understand this is corruption. It's very easy to understand corruption. These people are pieces of shit, and they want to keep their power and remain in control. And they've hurt me before, and I have the goods on them. I have these people on tape. I have all sorts of transcripts. I have all sorts of things. It's public too. Frank Parlato's written about this for years. Mike Volpe's written about this. I've written about this. So it's all over New York News Press, nynewspress.com. nynewspress.com, Luthmann.substack.com. Go look in there and look up the stuff that's been published already. It's out there. This email to Perry Rice, the convicted felon, from the district attorney, from Eric Nelson, is not new. It's been out there for years. It doesn't fucking do anything. And you think that if you have a smoking gun email like that, people would do something. No, you don't. And so it goes to show that in the world where we used to have justice, something like that, the case would be over immediately. If you have that transcript page where they tell them, "Oh, there's no First Amendment. Fuck you. You can't consult the First Amendment." The founding documents of this country that you take an oath to defend. If you're in the military, you take an oath to defend the country and the Constitution of the United States. And you're telling people that are serving in a jury, a grand jury room, that they can't consult the Constitution, that people have shed their blood for, that have died for. You can't consult that guy. I'm telling you, if there should be, I wish there was a death penalty. I'd shrink that fucking guy up. That's how I feel. I feel like somebody like that's treason in my opinion. That's the only crime in the Constitution is treason. When you're a prosecutor that tells people that are serving in a grand jury or a jury that they can't consult the Constitution, to me that's treasonous, because that's something that like somebody in Moscow or Beijing would tell somebody. That's like subversion. I think that's treason in my book. So that's the thing. That's the difference here. It's a messed up.
Yeah, they should be able to. That should be their Bible in a sense where they're at. Yeah.
If you want to read the Constitution of the United States, you want to read the Constitution, if you're in New York, or the state of New York, or the state that you're in, those things should be readily available for you to look at. And you shouldn't be told what portions to look at and what portions not to look at. That's the problem there. And the Constitution is a fundamental document. It's a living document. It's the people. It's the sovereign. The people are sovereign. There's no king. There's no dictator. It's the people that are in charge. And that document, it says in a constitutional republic, what the people say can happen, what the people say can't happen. And the fact that they're saying that a prosecutor saying don't consult the Constitution, you can't read the Constitution, that, in my opinion, is treason. That guy Eric Nelson, in my opinion, is a treasonous fuck, and he should get strung up. That's what I think. But I don't make the laws. I don't enforce them. I'm just some guy that gives opinions. So it is what it is.